Greetings, M squared here. Today we're going to take our knowledge from last week when we talked about adjacent angles, supplementary, complementary, vertical angles, and apply it. And with applying it, we're going to solve equations. So we're going to kind of combine a couple things. So you'll see the first question says that angles are supplementary. So if you don't have those definitions, you want to make sure you go back and find your notes so you know what to do. Because if two angles are supplementary and it says A and B are supplementary, then that means angle A plus angle B equals, do you remember? Hopefully you remember it was 180 because C, complementary comes before supplementary in the dictionary. 90 comes before 180 in the number line. All right, so this is our equation, but then they actually tell us what expression angle A and angle B are. Now notice it says M. Remember what that means? It means the measure of angle A is equal to x minus 16, and then it has this little open circle up at the top like an exponent. That means degrees. And so these parentheses aren't here because you have to distribute. They're there because they're saying that whole thing, whatever you get, that's degrees. So when we substitute them in, we're not going to need those degree signs. So I'm going to take angle A, which they said was x minus 16. I'm going to add it to angle B, which they said was 3x plus 28, and I get 180. Now, hopefully that looks familiar to you, and hopefully you remember what to do. So there were some steps that we learned about solving linear equations. So there's no fractions, we don't have to worry about that step. There's no parentheses, we don't have to worry about distributive property. The next step was on each side of the equation, see if there's any like terms. We definitely see some like terms. These x's are alike, and then these number parts are alike. So we're going to combine like terms. We're going to take x plus 3x and get 4x. We're going to take 28 minus 16, or negative 16 plus 28, whichever way you prefer. And we're going to get 12, right? 8 minus 6 is 2, 2 minus 1 is 1. And then it's going to equal 180. Okay, at this point, the next step was to move the constant, or the number part, not the x part, move the constants all to one side, and then move the x's all to one side. Well, since we only have one group of x's here, we don't have x's on both sides, we know that we're going to leave that there. It would be better to move our 12 over here instead of our 180 over there. So we're going to subtract 12 from both sides. So we get 4x equals, so 80 minus 10 is 70, minus 2 is 68, so we get a 168. The next step is to get x alone by dividing by whatever that coefficient is. That's 4. We're going to divide both sides by 4. Excuse me. 4 goes into 16 4 times, and it goes into 8 2 times. So we know that x is 42. Now this is what I want you to be very careful of, because sometimes they're going to ask you, what's the value of x? If they asked us what the value of x is, we'd be done. But that's not what they asked. That's why I underlined it. Then find the measure of angle A. Well, in order to find the measure of angle A, we have to substitute back into angle A. We have to know that, hey, angle A was equal to x minus 16. Now I found what x is. So if I go up here and I say 42 minus 16, then that is what it would be. So 42 minus 10 is 32. 32 minus 6 is 26. That is my guess. So this is angle A. And if I asked you for the measure of angle A, then we would have to say the measure of angle A equals 26, and we'd have to put our little degree sign right there. Because remember, when that M is there, we need to put the degree sign because it's talking about degrees. So it probably won't say that on Delta Math that you're using. You probably won't have an option for that. It'll probably already be there. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So the next one is talking about what kind of angles. See, vertical angles. So the first step in any of these problems is to notice what kind of angle you're dealing with so you know what kind of equation to make. We know that vertical angles are equal. Okay, so if angle A and angle B are vertical angles, then we know this to be true. Angle A has to be equal to angle B. And then they tell us what the angle is equal, and we substitute. So angle A is 3x minus 9, so I say 3x minus 9. Angle B is x plus 3, so I substitute, and now I have my equation that I can solve. And notice it's asking me to solve for x. Okay, so when I find x, I'm done. Here we go. We don't have parentheses, we don't have fractions, we don't have combining like terms on each side. So this is the part where we're just getting all the x's on one side and all the numbers on the other side. So I'm going to add 9 to both sides. And I'm going to subtract x to both sides because I'm getting rid of the x's on the right side to move them over to the left side, getting rid of the numbers on the left side to move them over to the right side. And then I divide by the coefficient of x to get my x alone, and I get x equals 6. Now, although they didn't ask you to plug it in to find an angle, it would help me to know if I'm right by plugging it in, because I would expect, since they're vertical angles, to get the same thing in both of those. So if I put a 6 over here, I get x plus 3, or 6 plus 3, I get 18. So angle B is 18. I'm sorry, that would be 9. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 plus 3 is 9. And if I put a 6 over here, I get 3 times 6, which is 18 minus 9, and 18 minus 9 is 9. And so that's just my check to make sure I didn't do anything wrong, because I know that they have to be equal. So that helps to check. All right, last one of these, and then you're off to your assignment. So what kind of angles are they talking about? Complementary angles. Well, what do I know about complementary angles? I know that they add up to 90 degrees. Complementary angles are two angles that add up to 90 degrees. That tells me that angle B plus angle A is going to be 90 degrees. Notice again what they ask for. They actually ask for angle A. So when we're done finding x, we got to plug it back into the angle A formula. So now I'm going to substitute. So I'm going to take what angle A equals, 6x plus 29, and put it here. I'm going to take what angle B equals and put it there. And then I'm going to say it equals 90. And then I'm going to solve the equation. So I'm going to have to combine like terms. 6x plus, some people go like this. You might find it easier to do this. So I'll just rewrite it and show you. You don't have to do this, but some people like to put the like terms together, so it's easier for them to combine. 6x plus 1x, because remember, if there's no coefficient there, it's a 1, is 7x. And 29 plus 5 is 34. Now we subtract 34 from both sides. So 7x equals, so 0 minus 4 is negative 4, and 9 minus 6, and 60, so we got 56. 56 there, and then if we divide by 7, we get x equals 8, but that's not what they asked for. So 8, back up into the formula, because x is 8, back into the formula. So we're going to have 6 times 8 plus 29. That's what angle A is going to be. 6 times 8 is 48. 48 plus 29. 48 plus 29 is going to be 77. So my measure of angle A is going to equal 77 degrees. And that would be my final answer. So remember your steps. You're going to find out what kind of angles they are. You're going to use that to make an equation. You're going to substitute those values back in, solve, but make sure you pay attention to what they're asking for, because sometimes they'll ask for x, sometimes they'll ask for the measure of the angle. Good luck. M Squared signing out.